I cannot get used to this. I cannot get used to my hair right now. Okay, so for those of you all that have no idea, I just cut off all of my hair from my hips down to like up to my shoulders. I can't even say down anymore. It's like really, really high up here. So I have this rosy Huntington type of style going on. Here's the thing. I'm in my 30s now, and we have this Black Cat Energy podcast, and I love it. I love being 30. Something happens where you just start not giving a fuck about what people say you should do or act or just life dynamics. And we'll get into some of that here in a second. But my name is Air, for those of you all that are like, I don't know who this girl is. I own both Black Cat Energy as well as the Who Am I podcast. I am in psychotherapy. I'm an MCS. I'm working and coaching women on just being authentic, being your true self, and getting the relationship that you want with yourself as well as your ideal partner in check, ready to go. And both of those podcasts really focus in different ways on how to accomplish that goal. I host retreats. I have one coming up in the Bahamas in a few weeks. And then I'll be speaking in Australia about this, down under. And I'm just feeling so light today because I got my hair cut. I cut it as short as it's ever been. I feel free. I feel like this is the time where I can speak on this topic and be just genuine and know that I look hotter than ever. I feel stronger than ever. I am me. And this is the energy that I want you to have for yourself. And if you already have it, you go, girl. Let this just be, another sister saying, amen, keep going. You're on the right track. I'm here with you. If you are still in your 20s and you're like I was, just trying to figure out what you want for your life, who you want to be with, where you want to live, this is still for you, because this is going to be something that accelerates your path, that the quicker that you get here and stay in this very high frequency, the happier, more peaceful you're going to be, the more vibrant you're going to be, and the more free you're going to be. So the topic I am actually addressing today is, hey, I'm 30 and everything biologically in me says, I want to have kids, I want to have kids, I want to have kids. Like, I'm ready. And then my brain is like, I am baby. Like me, I'm baby. And my boyfriend even was like, you are baby. And he likes, being called, daddy, but that's a different conversation. But nonetheless, like, when you're at that stage and you're like, I still feel like a child at times. Like, I'm very vibrant. I'm very much, let's go explore and see the world and adventure. But to bring in a baby into this world sounds like a good idea. And at the same time, like, terrifying, right? And I'll even be more frank with you. I am not entirely sure I want children. And that is a controversial statement alone. I'm not sure if that is in my life plan. And it wasn't until I turned 28 that my biology started actually doing this weird alert bell of like, baby, 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 baby. And for me to like really acknowledge that and focus on like introspection and my mind, body, soul awareness, I was like, do I want that? Like, or is that my body saying, go procreate, go produce, go make more children? And that's something that as you walk into your 30s and you maybe are not married yet, or you haven't even like figured out like the right partner for you, that type of combination, which is what I talk about a lot on both podcasts, mostly the Black Cat Energy podcast, but it can be complex out here. Even as the lovely, lovely woman was cutting my hair, she goes, it took me a while too to find a high quality man. And some women have these myths in their head that have been so built into their mindset that, men don't want to commit, or there's no good guys out, like all of these myths. And they really are myths. And if you don't agree with me, like let's talk some more. Like let's really get into that on either social media at Air Kraehmer or one-to-one and coaching, because these are things that have been programmed in your mind that aren't really true, but you feel like they're true. So back to the babies though, is I have clients that don't necessarily think that they want to be mothers. And I have clients that are mothers and don't necessarily agree with their choices of becoming a mother. And that's a hard topic to address. And even as someone that has never had children, it's a hard topic to address very vulnerably and honestly, to be like, maybe I don't want them. Maybe that's not what I genuinely want for my life. And if you come from a small town or a traditional family and you say that, it is sin. And we really have to focus on rewriting that narrative, because that's not fair. It's not fair to take what your beliefs are and impose them on somebody else. Even if you're a mother already to your daughter, it's still not fair. Like, if you authentically love somebody, you're going to want to respect them and their choices. And not having children is not detrimental. It's not going to hurt the child. A lot of people say, like, won't you regret if you don't have children? Or aren't you like needing to settle down if you do want children, and like hurry up and find a partner? And that stress of dating, like, I know that stress all too well. And before I was dating my boyfriend currently, I would say a couple boyfriends back, I went on this like spree, because when I was 27, 28, I had broke up with a 4-year relationship, and I got the grilling. I got the, you were with him for 4 years. Why didn't you get married? Why didn't you have children? Like, you're starting over? Like, yes, I am. And I'm happy and I'm ready. And I had a lot of that pressure. And then I went on like this dating spree. And I was very unhappy during that dating spree, because I was like, I don't even want to be dating at that time. So addressing some of these things as you get into your 30s of, okay, your body is saying one thing and your mind is saying something else, and maybe your heart is completely on a different page. And to vulnerably be like, hey, this is my truth. This is what resonates with me. This is important to me, needs to be enough. And that's kind of the root of my conversation today, is often people, when it comes to family, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to their own self-concept, and even when it comes to like daily activities, people really have an issue with the word enough. Like, to make it a little bit more masculine energy wise, or a little bit cut and dry, think about money for a moment. Like, what is enough? Truly, like, if you were going to be like, if I made this amount of money, I would be comfortable for the remaining of my life. I would be good. I'd be satisfied. Most people want to change the goalpost over and over and over again. Like, they start making $100,000, or they start making 30K months, or they win the lottery, even, like whatever you want to call it. And they move the goalpost. Suddenly, that isn't enough money anymore, and they need more. And suddenly, 100,000 is enough. They need 200,000. And if you're an entrepreneur and it's different, it's like 10K months versus 50K months. But what is really enough? And I actually got to have that conversation with a billionaire once, because he was like, nobody needs to be a billionaire. It's completely this fruitless task. And he was a self-made billionaire, not from old money. Like, he had done it himself. And he had actually said, he's like, there is no reason why anybody really needs more than $325,000 a year. Like, whether that's combined income with 2 incomes or one person, like, nobody actually really needs much more. Like, it doesn't do much more for your general lifestyle. And that really puts it into financial contemplation. But let's move it into like relationships. Like, what is enough? Being single really is enough. But a lot of people program their mind to think, I need a partner. Like, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to die alone, whatever it is. And I grew up very differently than most. I grew up very much on my own and even traveling on my own, taking care of myself very young. I was also the eldest daughter. So just a lot of this isolation was part of my childhood, what actually led to an avoidant slash anxious attachment style as I got older and I started really diving into that. But bringing it all back is I was very comfortable being alone. It was actually really difficult. And in this relationship, I've been so fortunate to have a partner that has equally done the work for himself to be like, this is my default, but I have done the work. And in this relationship, I show up better. And I'm not saying we show up perfect by any means, but we show up better than the past. So that was my default though. And I knew that enough for me was one partner that I could go explore the world together. Like that's what I wanted. At the end of the day, somebody that I could share adventures with. And I am someone that is equally the type of woman that will eat street tacos on the side, of Mexico City versus like I also loved going to galas and nice events and art shows, and like I have a wide gradient, and my partner is just like that, and that's one reason why we work so well together. But for me, those are all adventures, and that's enough. And I realized, and this is through the psychotherapy and working with a lot of different clients and school, that my enough is different and that your enough is different too. If you are someone that really doesn't want a relationship, like doesn't want to get married and have children, that is your enough. Like you are enough, and that's beautiful. It's truly beautiful if that's your enough. So hold on to that. Don't let other people tell you that you need to conform to whatever societal pressure that they have configured for your life. And in your 30s, you really get to start to grasp that and hone in on that skill set of this is my life and I'm going to live it my way. And that's a very lovely type of lifestyle to start to take on. But nonetheless, the children aspect, like wanting to be baby, like I love being baby. I love playing and bringing joy and dancing in the kitchen and just smiling. And I feel like I am enough and that my family is enough and my friends are enough and my lifestyle is enough for me. I don't necessarily need to bring in another child. But even if I did bring in another child, I don't feel the need to do that tomorrow or, in a month or in a year. And that is my enough. I feel like a lot of women, especially when our bodies start to like lie to us a little bit, and I hate to say that, I hate the word use the word hate, but our bodies feel like something is missing because of the biological clock. And our emotional responses want to come out because if you're very in touch with your feminine energy and you got that as a strong suit and you really develop that, you start to think that like, okay, like this is the right way. My body's even telling me I want a child. But we actually have so much more control over our emotions than we think. And neuroplasticity proves that of what have you been wired to believe and condition your mind. Like if you haven't done this yet, then suddenly you're a failure. Like that makes no sense. Like your path and your journey is revealing itself as you go. And that is gorgeous. That is the way life is supposed to be lived. My favorite quote, and I've been saying it for so long, so I don't even know if it's something I actually read once upon a time or something that came to me in a dream, but I love to tell this to people. And I hope that you share it with somebody that maybe needs to hear it. But there's no wrong way to live. There's no good or bad emotions. There just is and are. There is a way to live, and it's your way to live. And your emotions are in existence. They're not bad, they're not good. And even your interoception and what your body tells you that you should be feeling or doing, like this is kind of like little post-it notes, but it's not the whole novel. It's not the whole book. It's options. If you love Sylvia Plath, which is an amazing poet, and the bell jar actually has the poem called The Fig Tree. And the fig tree, she's sitting under this beautiful fig tree with all these options. And it's a short read. I highly encourage you to go and look it up. But basically, it's all the options of life. And you do have to choose options, right? You have to design and curate and create your life. You are a co creator with your journey. But you do not have to pick all the figs. And you do not have to choose all the figs. And you do not have to take the figs that are handed to you, right? You can observe and choose what's right for you. And a beautiful part of that is you can change your mind. You can change your mind at 30 or 40 or 50. Like, something I also read recently was about Warren Buffett and how his financial success and why we read about him so much had nothing to do about him being a great investor. He was a long-term person. He had these plans from 10 years old starting to invest, and he just stayed the course because he did not let others or even events or traumatic events influence his little increments of investing. And most of his financial wealth came from the last remainder of his life. So these little choices, you can make small moves and it make fundamental impact over time. You don't have to make life-altering choices in your 20s or in your 30s or even in your 40s or 50s and then wonder, like, was that my choice or was that the choice that somebody gave me? This is a beautiful thing I've got to explore with my own mother, because part of even cutting my hair meant that I was no longer going to look like my mother. And my mother is gorgeous. She has long blonde hair all the way down to her hips. Sound familiar? Versus, like, I now have this whole new look. I have this new style. I have this new energy. And I've been feeling about that. But part of me knew that I'd be breaking a little bit of that familial aesthetic bond with her. But her hair was her choice. And that's the difference. My mother had me super young. She was 19. She was a baby in my mind, right? And I still think I'm baby. So those were her choices, though. And she's very happy with those choices. She's very happy I'm alive. And here I am. I'm happy that I'm alive too. But it's different paths. And my mother and me have had these conversations of, no, I'm not married. I've never been married. My mother was married at 19, right? 18, I should say. And I've never been divorced. I don't know that experience. Like, she does. And she was divorced by the time that I was already what would have been 30. So my mother's had this life chapter that I will never be able to fully conceptualize, but I can respect that that was her choice. All three of those things were her choice, part of her journey. And I don't have to pick up on any of those. Or I can choose one, or I could choose two, or I could choose all three, right? Obviously at different chapters of life now that I'm older, but I could have had those as well when I was younger. And it's really difficult because most of the time when you are a 30 plus year old woman or even 28 plus, these conversations aren't necessarily always coming from society saying that you should be married with children, but they're coming more from, like, it's Thanksgiving dinner and extended family and parents wanting to know where your significant other is, or if you're going to get married soon, or if you're going to have children soon. And these voices enter into our head and we feel like it's coming from our family, so we should, want it more, or we should have already had it, or suddenly we're a failure or unwanted. And I never feel that way until somebody, like, points that out. And then if you're like that, you're like, wait, I feel terrible, but why do I feel terrible? My body and my mind and my heart is saying I feel horrible. And truth is that I don't feel terrible that I don't have children right now. I feel terrible that these individuals cannot honor that this is part of my path right now. This is where I'm at right now. That's why you're feeling really terrible, is you're feeling unseen and unheard and unwanted. and even rejected. And if you have those childhood wounds of rejection or feeling alone and abandoned, that's what's being activated. Not necessarily that you don't have a child right now, because if you do want a child, and I'm a very proud aunt of the last year, and holding the baby actually showed me more about honoring my own path and where I'm at and figuring out what I want for my life, was really just being like, it had nothing to do with my day to day. Because my day to day, I don't beat myself up for not having children. My day to day, I don't beat myself up for not being married. It's only when it gets pointed out that I start to question those things and I start to wonder, like, is there something wrong with me? And working through that, because I don't feel like that now, but working through that over the last 2 years, and especially at 30, it just like activated in the last 6 months. I was like, no, this has nothing to do with children or marriage. It has to do with feeling seen and heard and wanted and accepted, and like you belong in your family or you belong in society. And I'm here to share with you that you do belong and that you're not behind and that you do have the autonomy of your life. And I hope listening to this, you feel all of these things. But sister to sister, I also hope that you know and recognize that I see you. I know what it's like. I know that it can be very discombobulating and unfair. And that isn't yours to hold. I'm allowing myself and inviting you to be able to let it go. Truly let it go. And if it comes back up and it gets in your mind, or you wonder, or you have a default moment, is what we're going to call them, okay. I invite you to come back to the table with me. I invite you to come back to the comments or come back to this video or podcast, wherever you're watching this, on YouTube or Spotify, whatever. Like, come back and chat with me. Let me straighten up your crown, and let me remind you that you are absolutely where you need to be right now, and that you're not behind. It's not too late. He's there. You're going to find him. He's going to find you, better yet. That's going to be the beautiful part. You're going to be found. And you're going to be seen, and you're going to be heard. And it's enough. Like, you alone choosing what's best for you is enough. It's Thanksgiving right now. We're walking into the holidays, and I want to invite you to walk into the holidays feeling that, knowing that whatever comes your way, that you are enough. Your choices are good choices, and your life path is exactly where you need it to be. I really want to invite you to join me in January. I can't believe it. January will be here, whether you believe it or not, like lickety split. And January 16th through the 21st in the Bahamas, I am hosting a retreat called Clarity Reset. And it is for women just like you and me, and women that have been on the healing journey or on the personal growth journey, or just unleashing and becoming more of who they authentically are, to come and reset our minds, be in a healthy atmosphere with like-minded individuals, get some yoga, get some good food. Like, I love teaching people from the inside out, like how to become just that beautiful self that you already are. And if you are wanting a new look, if you're wanting to radiate with just clear soul energy, this is 5 days for it. And I am excited because I'm going to be scouting out the area more starting tomorrow and just doing my own clarity reset. So if you've watched this video after that, I know that there'll be more retreats. I invite you to go to the website, airkraehmer.com, and check out retreats. If you want to host retreats, like, I have the villa available. And even if you just want to connect on TikTok or Instagram, maybe talk about a different topic, it's just Air Kraehmer. Until then, I really hope to see you on the Black Cat Energy podcast, and I really hope to see you on the Who Am I? And most of all, just wishing you beautiful holidays. You've got this, my cuties. And as always, thank you for healing and growing with me today.